Hello, thank you for watching Beauty of the Beast, where my name is Krista. I'm 46 years old. I have suffered from addiction for 33 years of my life. I'm now sober for 5 months and living a life of recovery. I have developed this podcast to create a safe space for us to talk about ugly topics per se. I think that they're beautiful if they end up in recovery or a positive manner. But this is a place where we can talk about addiction and not be scrutinized or have stigmas, where we can increase awareness around addiction, where we can provide hope and support and try to go on this journey together. I do want to advise that there may be some things in this podcast that can be triggering, so please be advised to use at your own discretion and beware. Please do not replace my advice with your professional's advice, because this is merely just an educational podcast to increase awareness, to learn some information, facts, and do some mythbusters around addiction. But I want to let you know that this doesn't have to just necessarily mean with substance use disorder. If you have an addiction with anything, food, gambling, porn, sex, anything like that, this is a safe space where you can talk about it. It was brought to my attention that recovery works pretty much very similar to any kind of an addiction that you may suffer from. I choose to talk about addiction and recovery there because I suffered from addiction for 33 years, and I have gone through HE double hockey sticks and back at least 10 times. I want to start this segment. It's called Breaking the Stigma, the Truth About Addiction that no one wants to talk about. And I want to just kind of grab your attention here and just ask you a quick question, and please feel free to drop it in the comments below, your answer. But what if everything that you thought about drugs was actually not true? Because we've been conditioned as a society. We've been taught in our schools, in our workforce environments. We've been taught by our parents, by our churches, by our friends' parents, by a lot of people, and it kind of just is a black and white. Oh, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. They can kill you. But they don't explain exactly what they really can do, and that I think is important, because I think a lot of the scrutiny that comes along with the drug addiction is a lack of awareness. And I'm going to give you just an example from one of my own experiences. One of my hardest times of my life, because it seems like every time I was like, oh, this is the worst time of my life, it always got worse, you know what I mean? So it's like a milestone of my worst times of my life, I guess you could say. But I don't want to get too much into detail because it's kind of personal, and I'm just not ready there yet. I'm not ready to discuss and disclose all my personal, intimate times of desperation and trauma and grief. But I'll keep it kind of broad. But I had a very, very close person in my life. And when I started misusing drugs, I did it my whole life. It started off with cigarettes, and then alcohol, then pills, and acid, and mushrooms, and pot, and Oxycontins, and Xanax, and Clozapins, and Somas, and Percocets, and Vicodins, and, meth, crack, cocaine, heroin. I never tried fentanyl, but although fentanyl and ecstasy has been found to be in my blood system when I would go to jail, and they'd have to drop my drug test or drug screen rather, and they'd say, oh, you've got ecstasy or you've got fentanyl in your system along with meth. And so I do know they're putting that stuff in there now. So it's not that I've never had it just never was my choice of drug, so I didn't particularly use that. I've never actually used needles either, and I've snorted, I've hot railed, I've ingested it by oral, smoking, you name it, I've done it. I mean, I was off the hook. Let me tell you, if you don't believe me, ask my friends. Speaking of my friends, hello everybody. I just want to give a quick shout out to my friends, my bestest friends, Tracy and Mary, all of my peers at my group, my recovery center, my family, my mom, my brother, my dad, my stepdad, my grandma who's 100 years old. Hi, Grandma. My kids, I love you guys all. Christian, Savannah, Olivia, and Joey, my fiance, Phil, his parents. I love you guys. Totally love you guys a lot. Kathy, Gary. I just want to share my whole entire experiences and share my love as well. With that being said, there was a time in my life that I had a very close person in my life who I trusted more than my own life, and when I was under the influence of meth, the thing is that thing had power over me, and I started seeing things that I thought were real, and that's a real thing. So when somebody is under the influence of meth, there's paranoia, there's shadow people, there's drones, people walk around with flashlights on their heads, they love wires, they just really weird traits. I don't know why. I mean, I could get into it, but just to keep it for the sake of arguing, let's just stay focused right now. But I thought I was seeing things, and it was not good. It was not good things. And when I presented this to this person, I was convinced by them that I was crazy. I needed to put the bubble down. I was nuts, paranoid, and that the bubble got to me, and shame on me, and this, that, and the other. And for a couple of years, I believed this person. And turns out I was not wrong. And this point was a breaking point in my life. A lot of changes happened. Because the 2 years that I was going through this, I was gaslighted, and I believed this person because I have seen with my own eyes how meth can affect people, how people will see a reality or see something in a way that it really doesn't happen, but in their mind it did happen, and that's their reality, that's their perception. There's no convincing them. So when I've seen this with my own eyes from other people's behaviors, I started to think maybe this person was not misguiding me because I trusted this person. So maybe this person was telling me the truth. Why would this person want to hurt me this way and lie to me and tell me that I was crazy and this, that, and the other? Well, I turned my head, and I accepted things for what I thought they were not. And because had I accepted them for what they were, it would gone a whole different way. But I really started to think that maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe I was crazy. What kind of a person would think these things? And never one time did it cross my mind to put the bubble down and to try to see it for what it really was. Not one time did it cross my mind. And if you all knew what I was talking about, it's almost common sense to say, hey, lady, put the freaking bubble down. Put it down and get a grip on your life. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, you are high, and you need to absorb this and consider this and give it the time that it deserves, and the attention that it needs, so that you can get a grip on things. Because right now you are off the hook, and not one time. Nope, I was just like actually smoking the bubble when I was talking about it. Like, oh my God, this is really crappy. So when I found out that I wasn't wrong, my life came spiraling apart. Because for 2 years, what I thought was true, but was told by someone that I trusted and cared and loved a lot, endearing to my life, had been lying to me and gaslighting me and making me feel a really strong sort of type of way about myself. So things just got out of hand. I started living in bandos, and I was squatting in them and boosting, and really just kind of gave up on life. Didn't think that there was really anything left. I just was really disappointed in myself. I have a lot of guilt to this day. And I don't even really, I haven't even got to that point in my recovery yet to cope with it. But also shortly after this time in my life, about 1.5 years goes by, and things just started getting really bad, If you would have known my living conditions in my house, I'd be ashamed to tell some of these people. my friends' moms, my mom's friends. But it's okay, you know, and I'll share it with you. But I lived in a home on a farm that had no plumbing, and I tried to raise my children there. And the plumbing pipes were cut, and people were using the toilet, and feces was falling out of the toilet under the basement. And that's where I slept. That was my room. And I continued to stay there. I couldn't shower in the shower. I had to, like, literally had enough hot water to rinse off and put some soap on my hair and soap on my body. But I had this really big cooler, you know, that I kept in the bathtub, and I would let the bathtub faucet leak into this cooler because it would stay hot for a while. So after I got done shredding my hair, you know, scrubbing it and putting soap on my body, I literally turned off the shower because it was cold, and I dipped myself into this cooler that you put drinks in for tailgate party. And continued to stay in my basement and where the feces would drop. And my sub pump for my basement was sold at a scrapyard. And I didn't even know what the heck a sub pump was, like whatever. But it was important because my basement flooded. And it contaminated everything down there. It contaminated everything. That's where I slept. My clothes, my makeup, my bed, my pillows, everything. So got to a point where we were leaving, and they were condemning the house and knocking it down, and I lived in my truck. My cat had 5 kittens, so we took her with us. I had to get rid of my dogs. I had 5 animals. I got rid of my 2 dogs. My stepdad, thank you, Dad, and my little brother took River. We called her River, runs through it. She was a black shepherd. My stepdad took Chanelli Belly. She's a little mixed breed. She's so sweet that I miss her so much. I got a new van, so I think I'm going to go see her. But anyway, my fiance and I lived in the truck, and we lived in parking lots, and we lived with friends for a couple nights here and a couple nights there, but mostly we lived in the parking lot. Sometimes we got lucky, got a hotel room, which is why we got in trouble with the law, because they ran for warrants and found our names on the warrant list, and we got arrested after I jumped out the window wearing a little black lace shirt with a leopard coat, no shoes, running through town, the busiest part of town in the city, and got arrested in a local restaurant bathroom. It was humiliating, and my brother had passed away like a week before we got busted on another occasion, and that was really hard for me because we were getting ready to bury him, and I was in jail, and they gave me grace and showed mercy on me and allowed me to stay at home on house arrest, but I didn't have a home, and my parents weren't talking to me. I think they thought that my brother passed away from an overdose and that I was the reason because I probably gave him the drugs. Turns out he did not. The autopsy showed that he didn't have anything in his system, although he did use it one time. But they weren't talking to me. They didn't like my boyfriend for obvious reasons. They were raising my children. We were living in the car and weren't trying to better our lives. They knew we were on drugs and that we were just too far gone. So not only they did not like them, they didn't really like me either. So which in turn made them really not like him because they thought nothing highly of me and thought that I made bad choices in guys and life and friends and such and so on. So they even probably didn't like him even more. Didn't really give him a chance, but I don't blame them because we were off the hook. But now everything's fine. We've actually strengthened those relationships, which is fantastic. That's part of recovery. But when my brother passed away, I actually lived with, when I went on house arrest, I lived with my ex, who was legally my husband, and his girlfriend, who they stayed in a one-room, like a hotel. Didn't have a kitchen, it had a stand-up shower, small bathroom, and just one room. And it was built on the back of a house. Couldn't take care of my son, so he took care of my son. But after my brother had passed away, it had only been like 12 days, so he allowed me to stay with him. I just had to give the courts an address, and he allowed me to stay with him My boyfriend was getting ready to get out of jail. So my husband was like, no, I'm not, this is already a weird enough dynamic. I'm not trying to have your boyfriend here. It's one room. We've got the kids, blah, blah, blah. It's just crazy. So I understand that. At the time I didn't. I was really upset with him. But I moved in because my boyfriend was supposed to be getting out. So I had to get permission from the courts to move. And so I tried to make it where my move-in date would be the date that he was released from jail. And I got permission from the courts, and I had like 30 minutes to leave one address to get to the other. My boyfriend was never released. And luckily, the place that I stayed at was a very dear friend of mine, and I love him so. But maybe his living conditions weren't up to par. And this is really hard for me because I don't want to say nothing bad, but I want to keep it real. So the conditions weren't well. They weren't great. So I actually had another friend who lived there. I don't know if you'd say he's a friend. He just kind of mean to me sometimes. And we just wanted to always smash, even though we never did. But I think he resents me for not doing it to him. But he had somebody come in and fix the plumbing there so that I would have hot water since I was on house arrest and I couldn't go anywhere to shower or anything. But the first few days I would go out in the front yard because there was really no other yard to go to. And it was a busy street and I would have to rinse myself off with bottles of water. I had, of course, clothes on. I only had literally from jail one pair of shorts, a shirt, a pair of shoes. I don't even think they were shoes. I think they were flip-flops or something. I had no makeup. I had no food, no car. It didn't matter. I couldn't go anywhere. But I would stand out there and brush my teeth and wish my bottle of water around and spit it out and kind of put water on my hair and just kind of do the best I could with hygiene. And thankfully, he had somebody come in and fix the water who also tried smashing. And I just was in a really bad place. You know what I mean? I made a lot of really strong relationships. I didn't have my boyfriend. I didn't have my brother. I didn't have my parents. My kids weren't talking to me. My ex and I even got in a fight because of some stupid thing with food stamps. And they took all my food stamps from me and I had no way to feed myself. So I was kind of in a desperate place. Also, my boyfriend and I couldn't even talk to each other on the phone because there was a TPO. So I had some people coming around, and they were all guys, so you tell me what you gather out of this. A lot of people say, oh, Krista, they were trying to smash. And I'm like, no, they weren't. They were my friends, blah, blah, blah. I like to still think today that they were my friends, and that they did care because I was really a lost soul. If you asked any of them, they would tell you that I was just pathetic. I was crying a lot. I was alone. My friends didn't come around because the house that I lived in was not great or anything like that. And the thing that hurts the most about part of recovery, one of the things, is that some of these people I talk about on here, I'm not listing names, but they were the only thing I had in my life when I had nothing else. And I learned that materialistic stuff comes and goes, but friendships were hard to find. So it breaks my heart to think that I would talk bad about them because I'm not. But yes, they were also addicted to other drugs as well. And some people would call it a trap house, a hoarder house, drug activity, like a damsel in distress, and all these guys lined out my door. But it was all I had, and it was really important to me. And when my brother passed away, we were best friends, and he died unexpectedly. And I was so high, and I couldn't figure out what was going on in my life. And it never occurred to me to put the bubble down. Even after I suffered from the very biggest first event that I told you about, because I didn't even notice then that I needed to put the bubble down. But at this house that I've been staying at, just some things happened, you know. It wasn't, the only positive thing that came out of that was my relationships with my friends. And to this day, in my recovery, I've had to learn to love people from a distance. And I really don't have the opportunity to even talk to these people. I'm afraid to go around them because I'm afraid it might be a trigger. And I just want to let them know that I love all of you guys, and I'm here sober, and I'm living proof that I can get sober and that recovery happens. And I know that some of you are proud of me, and thank you. And I know some of you are just not ready to get sober or may not ever be ready. And that's fine too, because I don't judge you. And I just want you guys to know that I will always remember what you did for me and how you helped me when I had no other help in my life, and how you guys gave me hope and you inspired me and you were my incentive. And that means the world to me, because my life was so out of control. And you were all I had, you know? And I thank you for it. Because people want to say that those who misuse substances are trash, are morons, are idiots, brain dead, worthless, jailbirds, rebels, worthless, you know? And they're not. They're not. We have hearts. We have emotions. Those never stop. We have feelings. We just have a hard time struggling with addiction and getting sober. Every time I've met somebody that misuses substances, it's usually because they've had a hard life. They've had some sort of historical trauma. They have some sort of mental behavior disorders going on, whether it be ADHD or post-traumatic stress disorder or bipolar or multiple personalities or just anger management issues, but something. And nobody wakes up and says, hey, I want to struggle with addiction my whole life and disappoint my parents and lose my children and my marriage and my life and everything I've worked up to this point. And it's because we try to numb the pain. And when we try to numb the pain, we generally sometimes will like it. And if we like the substance, we'll continue to use it, because let's face it, who doesn't want to feel good, right? I mean, I want to feel good. You're crazy. You don't go to the doctor and say, how you feeling today, patient? Oh, doc, I just feel like crap and I love it. So, just let's go ahead and wrap it up. I'm not going to need any kind of test ran. I'm not going to need any pills. I'm not going to need any treatment. I love feeling like crap. I'm really not buying it. I used to go to the doctor and be like, oh, my back, oh, my neck, I'm seeking for pills because I was an addict, or a substance use disorder person. And I did what I could to feel good. And when I would feel good, I wouldn't remember all the bad times and remember all the stressors of life and just get down and depressed. I don't want to feel that way. And these substances made me feel good at some point in time, and which led into the fact that my body became immune. And I would no longer get a buzz from it. There's a song that says, what am I going to do when the drugs don't work? You just go get more. You go get more and you find another drug, And when that drug starts to wear off also, you just go get another drug. They're out there. Or you mix them, Because you just want to not live miserably. But by the time you realize you've gone through an awful lot of drugs and you're still miserable, you start to feel the effects little by little. It's like, oh man. But then you're too far and too deep. You know what I mean? You're just too far too deep on so many levels. You're like, now what do I do to get myself out of this rabbit hole? Well, I can't, because I don't have the resources, I don't have the relationships, I don't have the support, I don't have money, I don't have nothing to help me get out. So I have to continue to live this way because my addiction is calling for me, and I need to respond, and I need to respond quick, because if not, it can cause feelings of suicide. It can cause feelings of depression and loneliness in a dark place, and anger and irritable and moody and not pleasant and negative and just, ooh, you just get so sick of the stressors that you have to deal with every day. And you just keep getting more and more in debt and deep and deep and deep. I guess it's kind of like a gambling addiction. You go, you win big, you feel great, you go back again, you might win a little bit more, and you take some of that winning and you play it back, and you come out broke, and then you're like, oh crap, I spent my bill money, let me go back the next day and just try to get my bill money back, and then you get a little bit more deeper and a little bit more deeper. And it's not like you're actually thinking, oh, I'm going to go and spend all my money at the casino so that I can be in debt and lose my house and everything, right? You're hoping that you're going to get your return back so that you can replace the money that you've spent gambling and not lose control of your life, which 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose control of your life because it's a vicious cycle. That's just like the addiction. That's what happens. So by the time you realize, oh crap, I'm in too deep, what am I supposed to do? You can't do anything. You can't do anything. And a lot of times you don't realize that there's resources out there, or at this point in time in your life, you're like, I don't want to get sober. I don't want to get sober because I have too many effed up problems in my life, and I'm not going to mentally be able to handle it, flat out. And to be quite honest with you, I like getting high, But here's the thing, with addiction is a brain disease. And it kills me that people want to say, oh, it's a choice. No, to use drugs is a choice. Sometimes people are on prescription medications to treat a disease. A lot of these drugs that I was abusing, or I'm sorry, I don't even like to say that word, that I was misusing, are prescriptions. They prescribed meth, they prescribed Adderall, they prescribed Oxycontins, all my pills that I used to misuse, they prescribed those. Heck, Adolf used meth in the war, and so it just changes the structure of your brain. There's physiological structures, and then which changes the chemistry, which changes the functions. I know that meth can change the shape of your heart. Your heart starts to get hard and stops to work there because it's dying. You get holes in your brains from the new meth called P2P. If you use it for 5 years habitually, you start to degress, and there is no coming back from that degression. Now, with your neuroplasticity of it all, they're finding that you can recover, but living a life of recovery is not a cure for addiction. It is a treatable disease. Like recovery, you still have to work hard every day. In fact, there is like a medical assisted therapy, which is where you are prescribed medicines to help level your chemistry your chemistry in your brain, to give you good levels so that you can maintain. It's not replacing one drug for another, because an addiction is uncontrollable, where this medical assisted therapy is controlled. It is provided by a doctor. It's monitored. And it might be dependable, but it's not an addiction. And when we start to have these malfunctions coming into our brain and our brain space caused by these different levels of chemistry and chemicals in our head, we can't control that. And so we didn't choose that. Like, I know I didn't. I chose to feel good. That's why I did it. I didn't choose to screw up my life. I didn't know that it was going to have a hold on. I always thought that I could beat addiction. I always thought that, I'm not even going to kid you, I learned about addiction in my health class growing up in my entire school. And I thought that it was just a choice. I'm flat out to be honest with you. But then when I learned to live it, I realized how wrong I was, which made me realize in my sobriety and my recovery, if that's how I felt, think about all the other people out there that think the same way. And the reason I felt that way was because I didn't know. I just didn't know. And maybe they don't either. And my thing is if it's a choice to be addicted to drugs, then why do 55.9 million Americans suffer? Why don't they all just say, hey, let's choose to stop doing drugs? Because I'm going to tell you right now, somebody who suffers from addiction, they're not feeling good. They might be feeling good when they first started choosing to use or misuse the substance. But if they're in the midst of their addiction, they are not feeling good. So why not just choose to stop? You think somebody chooses to say, I have the choice that I could stop doing my drugs today and my life is going to be fantastic. No, we don't have that choice because we have a different chemical imbalance. We have a different shape in our brains. It affects so many different, it affects the pleasure center, the dopamine center, the receptors, the neurons. It affects the fronts, the memories, the people start to stutter. It affects your cognitive, it affects your mental, it affects your memory, it affects your reality and your perception. So it is not a choice. I would like to just finish up this podcast today. And I'm sorry if you feel like I'm upset. I'm just upset with our resources, our educational system. There's a lot of people and a lot of groups in their community that will help increase awareness. But there are so many people, even Christians, who are not supposed to judge but swear they live by God, but will not treat a person on the streets like they would treat Jesus. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Somebody with diabetes, would you judge them? Because they're taking insulin not to replace their sugar, but to help treat their symptoms. Would you judge them? Well, why would you judge somebody who suffers? These people are suffering. These people need your help. They need your support. They need to not be scrutinized because I'm a big person for manifestation and I love frequencies and I stay positive on the most, you know what I mean? But I tell you what, if you say it enough times, your subconscious, see, that's another thing. Your subconscious starts to believe it. And your subconscious will start telling your brain, this is how you're going to act because this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that you're an addict. I'm hearing that you're a junkie. I'm hearing that you're going to be worthless and no good and you're never going to amount to nothing and you're going to be a statistic and you're going to be a loser and you're never going to get a job and you're going to have STDs and you're going to have diseases and this, that, and the other and your kids are going to hate you. Whatever, it's out there. I've heard it all. And that's what your subconscious starts to tell you. So when you have all these people who are already struggling with mental health behaviors and they're in their own brain space and they're not happy with themselves and they're sick and they are alone and they're struggling and they're begging for change on the roads, they're going through clothes at the Goodwill stores, like the big old donation centers, crawling in there because they're cold and they need clothes for warmth. They're not happy. They have lost hope. They've lost their way. And they don't have anybody that has any confidence in them. Because people can be cruel. And I'll tell you one thing about my addiction. I might have a few things that I regret. But I would never redo it again. Because if I did, I wouldn't be half the woman I am today. I am so proud of who I am, even if nobody else is. I've got to the point where I just do not care what people think about me. You haven't walked a mile in my shoes and you probably never, ever could. You know what I mean? Maybe you could, but I think I could still walk my life a little bit better than you could walk in my life, you know? And that's made me strong. It's made me smart, aware, sympathetic, empathetic, kind, patient, understanding. It's molded me into a person I never thought that I would ever become. I have found God, and it is my passion to allow Him to do His work through me and reach as many people as I possibly can. But I know that I can't just go out on the streets and I just can't pick people up, pick them out. Hey, come with me. We're going to go get you better. Because they have to want it. And it's a sad thing because if they've lost everything, they don't even want to live. They don't want to try to get better because they've lost everything. They've lost themselves. And if you don't know what that feels like, don't judge. Who are you to judge because you have never been addicted to substances because your parents raised you right? Your parents raised you right, and you're a way better person than we are, and you're smarter than we are, and you know better. Well, good for you. I applaud you. I applaud you, and I truly, truly am so happy for you that you have never had to experience anything that you're judging. But I promise you, if you had a child or a parent who struggled or lost their life or is battling addiction, and you had any compassion in your heart, you would not be judging any of us. So until you've lived it, I'm just asking you from the bottom of my heart, and as I walk with God, to please, just please try to find some sort of spot in your heart to try to understand addiction and try to realize these people are suffering and they're hurting. And maybe they were making bad decisions, but that's one of the effects of addiction. It ruins our ability to make good decisions. And I remember when I was high, I hated making decisions because I'm like, I always make the wrong ones, I'm never really in the top of the podium right there on that one. I'm always like way back, but I guess, and now I realize that's one of the things that happens. We lose our ability to have good decision-making skills. And when you lose everybody and you feel like you're alone and you're in a dark place and you don't want to live anymore and you just go into the last-ditch effort to survive, bare minimum, you'll do what you have to do. Because believe it or not, we have stipulations in some of these community groups. We have stipulations as if we love you because of, but not in spite of, I don't know. I just feel like I could offer so many ways that we could fix half the issues that surround addiction if we work together. And I will tell you right now, my counselor gave me and my fiance so much praise during my sobriety at treatment that made me feel like maybe I'm not such a bad person. He sees something in me that I don't see. And so that encouraged me. That support from one person encouraged me. And then my other counselor started to do the same. And then so I started feeling alive again. I started feeling like maybe they're right because they're sober and because they're counselors and because they do this every day and they see something in me. And that support goes a long way. You know what I mean? And if you don't, just drop it in the comments below. Tell me I'm crazy, but I'm probably going to delete it because this isn't a place for your negativity. You know what I mean? I just want to stay positive, So, anyways, I'm done with my tangent, but I want to say thank you for watching Beauty of the Beast with me today. I want to leave you with one challenge. To please try to get involved in your community resources just to see what's out there for you or your loved ones. Try to join a group. There's AA, there's NA, there's church. You can try to go through family counseling, interventions. If you haven't talked to your loved one in a while, just don't give up hope. Maybe reach out to them, because as disappointed as you are in them, I promise you they're more disappointed in themselves even for disappointing you. So just drop them a call and say I love you, because you don't want to leave this world on a bad note with your loved one. You just don't. You don't want to take it to the other side with you, and you don't want to leave them here with who knows what they're thinking. And I want to send you all positive vibes, and I want you all to have a blessed day. And if you think that addiction is a choice, why don't you just let me know? Drop it in the notes below in the comments, and you say yes or no and tell me why. And let's kind of go from there. So I'm Krista. I am 46 years old. I've suffered from addiction for 33 years of my life. And today I'm here to tell you that I'm sober for 5 months and recovery is possible. Thank you for watching Beauty of the Beast. Have a great weekend, everybody. Mwah. Bye-bye.